Hello, I am C3PO, and I believe the storyteller is ready, so let us begin.
So the episode starts off, Obi-Wan and Anakin are accompanying Satine to Coruscant for a senator deposition. Anakin and Satine Anakin meets Satine, and she's kind of sour with Obi-Wan. There's a lot of banter. R2 and the clones are in the bowels of the ship as they're kind of guarding, make sure nothing goes wrong. But a couple clone troopers disappear, and we realize that they've been attacked by this kind of spider-shaped assassin droid. And Anakin goes down to check on said issue after chatting with Obi-Wan further about his relationship with Satine.
And so what this basically reveals is that one of the members of the Senate is more than likely a traitor. Somebody has allowed this spider robot infestation aboard. And so there's, I guess, a bit of an inquiry. And when it's revealed that the traitor senator is Greg Proops, he takes Satine hostage. And that kind of forces a bit of a standoff between Obi-Wan and the other two. During this, Satine tells Obi-Wan that, in spite of all of this hostility, she's always loved him, and he kind of half says it back, although really it's just kind of a distraction ploy to regain the upper hand. When they do that, out of nowhere, somebody else kills this traitor.
Yeah, so as they're kind of going back and forth, he has threatened to blow up the entire ship as he's rigged it to blow. He tries to kidnap Satine, but Satine does getting the upper hand on him, puts them in a kind of an awkward position because she's a pacifist. She won't kill him. Obi-Wan is in a weird position of not wanting to kill him in cold blood directly in front of Satine, but we all know someone who is kind of okay with killing things and killing bad people in cold blood, and that would be Anakin Skywalker. And Obi-Wan kind of shakes his head at that. But Anakin realizes, well, it's going to save the day and the ship doesn't explode. Satine is safely taken to Coruscant, and then Obi-Wan is kind of the old wound of his love is kind of reopened, and he's kind of left in this is gonna I have a bad feeling about this, and his future kind of emotional heartstrings.
A really nice dynamic in this episode is that there exists this backstory for Satine and Obi-Wan, which is kind of developed here in this episode, and this basis that both of them actually, for different reasons, are pacifists, sort of. Like they both have this personal ethic, this moral code that precludes them from choosing violence first. And yet neither one of them seem to agree with the way the other one approaches that lifestyle. And in fact, Satine is constantly calling out Obi-Wan for the hypocrisy she sees in the Jedi Order, which is valid. Now, I think it's notable, and you kind of hinted at this last week, that this episode was produced before episode 12, which we watched last week. And that is, I realized that when I read up on it, and it's very clear knowing that, because they don't have the same dynamic at all as they had last week. Did you find that when you watch it? Like, but suddenly they're a lot meaner to each other than they were last week.
No, they absolutely have a very similar dynamic. She is definitely meaner in a public setting, but I see that being a little bit more akin to the fact that it's a public setting. My favorite bloody line of the episode is, "Senators, I presume you are acquainted with the collection of half-truths and hyperbole known as Obi-Wan Kenobi," which is so wonderful from a certain point of view, and how that kind of trickles throughout the entire character's history. But in particular, she feels, I guess, somewhat slighted that he has this moral compass, but where are his morals bending? But they never bent for her. And so that was kind of the big thing that I see it as a frustration, and it ebbs and flows between the two characters, and it is very kind of all over the place. And I guess the polar nature that their relationship can kind of take. So I'm kind of okay with it. You see kind of a bunch of different perspectives on it from last episode to this episode. It definitely does, like, these episodes could be watched in either order, but I do find them consistent.
There's also a current through the episode where Anakin is kind of learning about this history between Obi-Wan and Satine for the first time, and he's using it very playfully. He's kind of ribbing Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan has less than zero patience for it. And that's what's kind of interesting about this depiction of Obi-Wan, is because he's you know, while he's generally by the book and no nonsense, he's rarely so frustrated as he is in this episode. Um, and I guess that's just meant to illustrate that love kind of changes. It rewires you emotionally speaking, and I think that was effective.
But it's also, I think, absolutely that. And then on top of it, with it being the Anakin kind of back and forth. And I think the Anakin back and forth that they have is great. But it's also the one instance where Anakin finally is like, oh my God, of all the shit you give me, you're kind of in the same position. I mean, like Anakin doesn't, it's not the case at all. Anakin's literally married, but at this, but in a certain way, he's kind of teasing him. It's just like, oh, you son of a bitch, you're just such a hypocrite.
Oh, but you
And
can't tell me
Obi-Wan's getting that from everybody.
it's obviously created to mirror Padme and Anakin,
Absolutely.
like the elevator
Absolutely.
sequence at the beginning. Like it's a complete role reversal on purpose.
Yeah, and it's great, and that's Anakin's role in this episode, in the trifecta of kind of their relationship there. I know I don't want to maybe skip to it right away, but there's not a whole lot to say about Anakin in this episode. There's a couple things though, the couple uber cool moments. There's the saber throw, very Darth Vader-esque, up into the rafters, and then of course the Imperial March, the way it plays when he stabs Merrick from behind. It is so very, very, very cool. It is, there are a bunch of great moments like this in the Clone Wars with this great foreshadowing, but it's Anakin using logic and his perspective on warfare and how it differs from Obi-Wan's and Satine's and the views of other people. But as Obi-Wan says, in the public's eyes, murder, it becomes the hero in that situation. The guy died, the ship was saved, you're the hero, and Anakin views it that way too. And he's got no problem being the poster boy, as we see in Revenge of the Sith.
No, and he treats that kill with such levity, which is kind of strange. He just kind of like shrugs and says, had to do it, had to do it. And Obi-Wan's very odd in that moment because he just gives him like a Anakin. It doesn't really quite seem like a like even Obi-Wan is quite as troubled by what this act of hatred or aggression could mean for his Padawan. I guess he hasn't necessarily sniffed out the dark side in Anakin yet.
True, but I see this very much as Anakin being in the right. I think this is an example of Anakin being 100% in the right and doing what is like he's choosing what is right, not necessarily what is code. And Obi-Wan is in a position of, ooh, this is like code. He must stand trial. And Anakin doesn't really fall on the lines of he must stand trial. The whole reason as to why he's takes that hard line with Mace Windu is because it's like, Mace Windu, this is all you guys ever give me, is that and you need to follow the code. And if you don't follow the code, then I'll flip it on you. And so that's kind of the way I see it. But then also Obi-Wan really doesn't want to just do cold-blooded murder in front of Satine.
But that's the thing. And I only kind of agree because he's not the one who uses the term cold-blooded murder. It's this other guy, right? And and thereby sets up this illustration of Anakin as the cold-blooded killer. And then the Imperial March plays, which is the most iconic villain score in movie history. And so it's not so simple as he's in the right for doing this. Maybe it was the right thing to do, but this doesn't come from the good within him.
No, this comes from the conflict of the messages that he receives and his inability to kind of tell those lines apart. I mean, he is in the right here, but he's not necessarily in the right to be so quick about thinking it. It's not an easy decision, but it's an easy decision for Anakin, and that's not a good thing. And then, of course, it means a lot more for him in this situation. But it is an example where Obi-Wan, I think, very much agrees with Anakin's decision, and that's why he's only like Anakin, not like Anakin, and really mad. It's a matter of he's happy Anakin did it, because it didn't mean that he had to. He's just not happy with the way Anakin did it. And that's kind of the way I viewed it.
Is there anywhere else that this romance between a young Obi-Wan and young Satine is actually fleshed out? Because they've given us a lot of backstory here, and Obi-Wan kind of provides it for Anakin. It's not implicit. It's not essential, but I would like to learn more. I like the idea of them being young and in love.
Yeah, it's something that they make a couple allusions to in Master and Apprentice, with Qui-Gon teasing Obi-Wan a bit, but not a whole lot. It's explored a little bit more in this show as well, because there are kind of 9 episodes we've outlined here to kind of explore with Mandalore's relationship to the Clone Wars, and in the ones that we haven't watched, in the sense that we had already done the last 4 episodes for this show. But yeah, there's going to be some more exploration, but there isn't a ton. It's something that was very open and provided a lot of potential for Rey being a Kenobi. And that's a lot of people really thought. It's like, okay, well, why? For me, I was convinced, like, that was the biggest nugget for me, was why did they delay the Kenobi show so long? And if they like, I believe it was the connection they were potentially, or at least keeping open, which we know for sure is they were. I'm getting a major lag going on with my camera. But
yeah, you're a little glitchy right now.
Yeah, but it's something I think they wanted to keep open, and that's why they delayed that show, and that's why they haven't filled in this plot line a ton yet, because potentially could have been Satine had to go off and hide her offspring.
Well, yeah, okay. I'm interested in that. I think I know a thing or two about the fate of Satine. I don't want it spoiled for me at this point because we're kind of in the midst of exploring it. But is there a possibility that the Obi-Wan show can finalize the Satine plot, especially since we're also exploring Mandalorian culture in live action now?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Her story will be finished in a way of Bo-Katan might do some form of tie off a little bit about the story arc, and then I assume maybe flashbacks, or if Obi-Wan makes his way to Mandalore somehow in the Kenobi series, which doesn't seem right, but yeah, I think there's more story to tell there, and I think it would make a lot of sense. It wouldn't shock me if we got a book on that one day. It's the kind of thing that does feel very like a bookish sort of topic, that they would at least go back in time to flesh it out more.
Do you think they can bag Cate Blanchett for a cameo in the Obi-Wan series?
I don't see why they couldn't, if you can get someone like Jodie Comer to do something that short and sweet, and it's all done in California, and it's kind of a hop, skip, and a jump away. Or even if not, you get somebody who looks a hell of a lot like her, because it's like, I don't think it would require someone who's a great actress if it's going to be a quick flashbacks or likely dream sequences.
That's true. You don't really want to waste Cate Blanchett too. Like, she's so extraordinary.
Yeah, you could use her at some point down the line, and just timing wise, it won't necessarily work for this.
It's a really strong dialogue episode, and in particular that scene, that meeting scene that you quoted from a minute ago. Like, all of the lines are stiff and proper, but like really carefully well worded. And so that senator's line in particular is really good. I kind of would just have like a bunch of half lines, like retorts written down.
Yeah, there are a bunch of really good ones. Just you're quite the general now, aren't you, Master Kenobi? And yet some might argue the best defense is a swift and decisive offense.
Right, that's good. Anakin tells her we fight for peace, and she says, "What an amusing contradiction." And it is.
Yeah, that is a really good one. Anakin's other line, what? He was going to blow up the ship. Merrick's line of who will strike first and brand themselves a cold-blooded killer.
Right.
Very kind of over-the-top sort of Saturday morning cartoon dialogue, but that's very much what George Lucas is going for here.
This is a really excellent pairing of lines between Obi-Wan and Satine. One of them says the sarcasm of a soldier, and he says the delusion of a dreamer. They just kind of trade groans back and forth.
Yeah, it's very one against each other. That is a really good back and forth that they have. Obi-Wan's line of "Had you said the word, I would have left the Jedi Order." That's
but he's
an
lying,
important line.
right? Like,
no, he's not.
Is she?
He's not. No.
But like, it just seems like she said it as a ploy, not because this was the moment to be that sincere.
Yeah, but she was being. So
Okay.
we will go further down that road. But also think of Obi-Wan was very, very confused young Padawan. And he really did not understand Qui-Gon at all. And Qui-Gon was a very confusing master for him. And so Obi-Wan wasn't necessarily raw power in the Force as a young Padawan. And so with that, there was a lot of temptation, you could say, kind of luring him away. And what's the name of this episode? Oh, yeah, Voyage of Temptation.
Right.
And what is the moral they say at the start? What is it?
Fortune cookie is fear not for the future, weep not for the past.
Yeah. And so also going kind of back to Obi-Wan's relationship and the regrets that he has and his fears for what his feelings may result in for him or for Satine or for his position as a Jedi or her position as a politician or anything coming down the line. And that fortune cookie is wise on many levels, and we will see why.
Yeah. Some parting words from Satine before she takes off at the end. It's kind of cute. She says, "Kind words indeed from a mindful and committed Jedi." So here she's finally kind of complimenting his ways. And then she adds, "And yet, I'm not sure about the beard."
Yeah, I really like that. It hides too much of your handsome face.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was very sweet.
People don't really talk like that in Star Wars very much. I thought it was like a cute, like very humane flirtation.
Yeah, and I like that. I think that's what's really good about the dialogue in this episode is it does blend. I think it really hits on that original trilogy dialogue in the sense of it has a lot of lofty talk, but also a lot of kind of American just jargon in the way that you would normally want to speak.
I thought the same thing in particular when Anakin refers to, he's just like kind of ribbing Obi-Wan and he refers to Satine as his girlfriend. Go get your girlfriend. And I thought for a second, is girlfriend a word that exists in the Star Wars universe? And my litmus test for that is, would Han Solo say it? And if he would, then it's a word that can be said by anybody.
Yep, and Han would. Finn says, "You got a cute boyfriend?"
Right.
So that's a use case there. I think, I don't know. I think girlfriend's used a couple other times, maybe in Clone Wars, maybe once by Obi-Wan teasing Anakin the other way around, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, but he usually leaves out the undercurrent of remorse.
Talking about Yoda. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another good line.
Are those Death Troopers, by the way, that they send in at the end? Are they the same things from Mando season 2?
No, those aren't Dark Troopers. You mean? So Dark Troopers? No, but of a very similar concept. Actually, those are B2 battle droids that you do see, like the advanced battle droids that you see in Din's flashbacks of when they attack his home world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so those are the advanced battle droids.
Spider things were kind of cool. Like one of my only takebacks for the episode is when they first realized that something is amiss and one of the clones says, "What have we here? Looks like the contents of this box are missing." It just said, "Yeah, no shit." It's like a big open box.
That's a really bad thing. The battle droids are always annoying. I also had the luxury droids as a bit of a take back. Those are kind of a creepy concept. They look just like blow up dolls almost, like marionettes. They're really creepy. Did you have any? Also the other take back I had was the Mando guards blocking blaster fire. Those are some reflexes,
right?
I think that wasn't well thought through. That little thing in the background. Those are some Jedi reflexes.
Do you have any trivia questions?
Yeah, I got a bunch for you. So you want to go first?
Yeah, I don't have very many good ones. Padawan question: how long does Obi-Wan say he and Master Qui-Gon spent on Mandalore protecting Satine?
1 year?
It was 1 year. Yeah.
The
time of which Obi-Wan would have been what, like 17?
17, 18, 19 in that time range, yeah.
Yep.
And what does Satine use against the mini spider assassin droids?
Obi-Wan refers to it, I think he calls it a deflector. Deactivator. So the idea is it's not a weapon. It can just diffuse attack.
Yeah, like an EMT.
Yeah. Okay. You already
he
said
is that electromagnetic pulse.
you already said this a couple of times. What does Anakin refer to the spider enemy droids when he pages Obi-Wan?
Assassin droids.
Oh, close.
Oh,
Assassin probes.
assassin probes. Yeah. So the assassin probes are the mini ones. The main droid is the SDK4 assassin droid.
Okay.
Aside from Satine, who else in Star Wars owns a Naur class yacht? You can get this one.
Yeah.
That's why I chose it.
Yeah, I thought so. Is it what's his face? Paul Bettany.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What's
Paul
his name?
Bettany Solo. Well, it's obviously escaping me at the moment. And it's not very good radio for me to sit here and try and think of it, but it starts with a D.
It does. And his last name rhymes with my first name.
Dryden Voss.
Dryden Voss. Well done. Yeah.
Yes. He had a sick yacht.
Yeah. They share different paint job, but very, very cool yacht.
Okay.
Master question. Where is Satine from?
Oh, specifically. I don't know.
Calvala.
Okay.
So planet in Mandalore space.
All right. Okay.
Do you have a master question for me?
Yeah. Satine refers to herself as the designated regent of how many systems?
1,500, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. I think that was my question from last week.
Oh, okay. Well, here it was in this episode.
There you go. That's right. Any other kind of things to talk about for this one? It was a good episode, though.
It was really good. I don't think anything else really stands out. It was good action, good dynamics. I liked seeing more of Anakin. He was, I mean, other than this like weird moral ambiguity over him killing the guy and then the Imperial March happening, he's kind of just like a savior, like a good guy. Really can do no wrong in this episode.
Yeah, he's absolutely Captain Coruscant.
Yeah.
He is big time, or Captain Tatooine, whatever you want to call him.
One of the senators
superhero.
on the yacht was he had a French accent. I think that's the first time I've heard a French accent in Star Wars.
Yeah, so Ryloth, the Twi'leks, they have French accents. That was one of my backup questions was name one of the other people at the dinner table, and so that was Orn Frita. He's just a sloth of a human. He's slovenly and disgusting and a bad dude. He is very much in Palpatine's inner circle, probably based off of a specific politician, just based off of the fact that he's so
too on the nose.
Yeah, and he's just such a brown-nosing, gross guy. Yeah. So
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I don't think there's anything else to say. If you want to move on to the news, there are a few pressing things in the news.
There was one thing I did want to say, and that would be Rex taking out the assassin droid. That was awesome. And that just goes to show you why Rex is the most badass of all the clones.
Yeah, that ruled. It was nice to see the clones too, because we didn't see them last week.
Yeah, no, that was they had a good showing in this one.
Okay, onward.
Yeah, so in the news, there's been a bunch of stupid Solo, like people have been like, oh, is there gonna be a Solo 2? Is Darth Maul coming back? No, there's Ray Park's finally allowed to release some behind the scenes photos from Solo. So that's all nothing.
It's never gonna happen.
No, but him coming back is very likely in live action, and
lots of things can happen. But yeah. Solo the movie lost money, and it's a Star Wars movie. They're never making a Solo 2.
No, but I think people are referring to a spiritual successor of a certain extent. But anyway, that's not what it is. When it comes to Mandalorian adjacent news or related news, Pedro Pascal has got another starring job in The Last of Us TV show. And so that will be taking up some of his time, and meaning there may be some more Brendan Wayne in suit, and I forget what his name is. I think it's like I can't remember. It's La something. There's the martial artist who does Din's fighting. So it'll be them more in the suits probably for season 3 a little bit. The Mando visual.
If I could just comment on that,
Yeah.
I really doubt the two productions are overlapping, and this will have no impact on whether or not he's in the Mandalorian suit. Like it probably takes 3 months to do a principal photography on a season of Mandalorian. I'm sure it's just part of the agreement that it shoots, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. Is Last of Us set to be limited series or how many seasons? I don't really know. So that all
No
could depend.
idea, but it as long as people aren't making 24 episode seasons anymore, and nobody besides Sterling K. Brown is,
No.
then you got time to do 2 shows in a year.
Yeah, no, that's true. But it's also part of, I think, Pedro's contract that he can kind of do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, that's cool.
And well, because it was how it was with season 1. They started it before they had him fully locked down, I think. So I don't think he's a whole lot in that one anyway. The visual guide for the Mandalorian, like I love the visual guides that go along with these, and the visual guide was set to come out this summer, but there's a lot of rumors now that it's going to be canceled, and I love this. I'm so happy it's canceled because what it means is that they're canceling a bunch of potential roadblocks they're going to create for themselves.
Okay.
Why block yourself in by explaining a bunch of things in a visual guide that ultimately you could be explaining away an opportunity for a story? And so that is the rumored reason as to why they're doing it, is because, oh, wow, we just put this thing, if we put this thing out, we're just going to immediately start contradicting it or make Ahsoka and Rangers of the New Republic a bloody nightmare to shoot. And it's because of a book that we wanted to do as a companion piece. No, let's cancel this.
Yep.
And so I think that is perfect. I absolutely love those, but not at the expense of the show. And I think this is very smart. There have been a number of areas that around the Rise of Skywalker that bugged me. Like Rise of Skywalker, in my opinion, had some areas that really could have been tidied up over time, and it'll be harder to tidy them up over time because they tried to fill it in with a bunch of quickly created like comics and crap to be released around the same time without gauging anybody's reaction or understanding of the fine minutia of how to connect those things. And so don't rush to put something out and then ultimately have that potentially hurt really good stories down the line. So This is a great piece of news that I think shows a lot of foresight on the part of Disney. Another thing that has been huge in the news, and I guess kind of the one of the biggest topics, would be that there will be no more Cara Dune portrayed by Gina Carano.
I can't believe you haven't gotten around to this sooner. This is like clear. This is one of the biggest entertainment stories of the week.
Yeah, I know. That's why I just figured I'd get the main things off the board. There's that and one other thing, of course, to talk about. But that one, this is a huge, huge news story. It's been some more information has come out. Apparently, she was warned, but she was not fired in private. She was fired on the internet. She found out about her firing when we all did. Wow. And so I don't agree with that at all.
Weird choice. Yeah.
But I think it was 100% in Disney's right, because they're a corporation, and I think they were very wise to sever ties with Gina Carano. I think she's irresponsible, and I don't agree with a lot of her beliefs. That it was not enough for anyone to lose their job for, but the fact that she was pressing, and the fact that she was warned that this was going against a public image with her job, and the fact that she was saying dangerous things as opposed to just saying both things that people disagreed with, but things that were dangerous, and as a person from influence created a whole snowball of problems. And so it was something that Disney was very wise to get rid of, and I think that it'll blow over pretty quickly, and everybody will be very, very, very happy that this was what ultimately came of it.
I mean, I think the snowball that you talk about is a really important thing to distinguish, because the problem is she's not on a mainstream level even close to being famous enough for her previous mini scandals that amounted to this ultimate severance to actually move the needle beyond little podcasts like ours, or like really like really minutia focused Star Wars super fans. And so the vast majority of people don't even really know the Gina Carano name previous to a week ago when she very publicly loses her job. And so they don't know that this has been an amounting issue that she has been warned about. So it's really easy to throw cancel culture out there and say that that's what happened here. And of course, it's really easy for someone like her to glom onto that as an excuse and to politicize a moment like this. But the fact is, our podcast is in fact is a record of an ongoing series of troubling comments and behaviors in the public that don't fall in line with the attitudes of Lucasfilm. And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not for a second going to miss Cara Dune. Like at family dinner this week, Dad, who has yet to see The Mandalorian, asked us, like, before I get into this show, like, is this lady they fired from Mandalorian, is that really going to like screw up the plot of the show? And we were like, oh, not even 1%. Like, it's the most easy character to write off. By the way, she's also a wretched actor, and the only job she can get is working with Ben Shapiro now. So it's just better, honestly.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And recast if you need to. It wouldn't be the first time it's been done in Star Wars. And also, it was now heavily, like, I don't know where this is confirmed or what the original story, but it seems very much that Rangers of the New Republic was her show, and that was the maybe non-firing that Disney did by being like, hey, you're gonna have a new show, and then they took that away from her, and maybe that was their way of firing her, and that's why she's been like, oh, they didn't actually fire me. Well, when they said you're going to get your own show and then they took it away from you, that was kind of them firing. So we don't know all the details about that, but it does look like Rangers of the New Republic was going to be her show, and then the world falls in love with Paul Sung-Hoon Lee, and then is like, oh, why not make it this, the guy who hands her the badge? And so I don't think they're in even a difficult position, where I think they already found their guy to fall in as that kind of lead character in that show, where the kind of Cara Dune was going to play a bit of a role. Or you bring in a little more Billy Burr and have a little bit more Ginger Bostonian in the galaxy far, far away.
Right.
And there's or just recast Cara Dune. Who cares? With somebody else who can kick ass and can act better. Exactly.
Yeah. So I just can't begin to identify with a willingness to be this careless with the greatest job ever. Like, you must know that you absolutely like won the lottery here. Like, you play your cards right, you keep your head down, you ingratiate yourself with the vast majority of popular culture consumers, you're set for life. You're a hero for life. Why are you throwing this away?
Yeah, and there's been a lot. I mean, I know some people brought up, and it's amazing the way that people can kind of make connections and comparisons, but saying that, oh, well, when you bring the Holocaust into it, then it's a full stop, no go. And then a lot of one side's arguments are, well, Pedro Pascal brought up the Holocaust and was very political in making comparisons to Republican actions before Gina Carano did. Comparing kids in cages to kids in concentration camps is a closer comparison than comparing your opinion, than comparing being a political, having a political view in a free country to being a persecuted person during the Holocaust. That is not even there's no close comparison there. You're free, you are not persecuted, Gina Carano. You will not go to jail for your comments, and that is your free speech.
Consequences. It's pretty simple. Yeah. And it's not out of the question that Pedro Pascal can throw his weight around, and I'm not saying that he would be vindictive, because this situation didn't relate to him, but this is an outspoken, liberal-minded person. He was in the news previous to the Gina Carano situation, just for like a heartwarming situation. Like, he just like publicly showed a lot of support for his sister, who came out publicly as a trans woman. And like, this is a person who is like politically outspoken, and he just might not want that on his set. and I kind of get it.
To be honest, I actually think Pedro Pascal, from everything that I don't know at all. I think that he might be the kind of person who's so forgiving that isn't the case.
Maybe.
But I think that this is maybe to a certain point where there's enough other people involved that there's so much offense going on that it even goes beyond those lines. And then you also go in the fact of some people are saying, oh, well, I believe Ben Shapiro is a very vocal Jewish man. And if that's the case, I think that's the case.
I think so.
And people are saying, well, then how can it possibly be an anti-Semitic thing? Well, that just because one person views one thing one way, and it doesn't mean that there weren't, I'm sure, a lot of people from a Jewish background. That's not true. I know for a fact there are a lot of people who vocalize that as a Jewish person, they were offended by those comments. And so I think that there was enough of a line there that it's fine. You can have those comments, and now you're part of an organization that is okay with you saying those comments. And that is another part of capitalism and free speech. And now, thankfully, the galaxy far, far away doesn't need to have your shit in it.
Now, a little bit of more speculation in what's to come in future movies, which you and I went back and forth on a couple of times today, naturally being met with a little bit of resistance because that happens with a few. There's a few people in mainstream popular culture whose names are a little bit nuclear in Star Wars, but you and I tend to agree that it's a positive thing. So what's going on with Rian Johnson?
Yeah, just another confirmation from him that it's still in the works. He's a busy man, and Star Wars and Lucasfilm is a busy organization. My guess is that the era is something like that is so up in the air that it doesn't really matter. Rian Johnson's a young guy. And they're redefining eras, and they're setting up new people in different positions of leadership. I saw a rumor today that Zack Snyder's being eyed for a Star Wars project. If that's the case, I think that's a really, really terrible idea, unless it's under the tutelage of Jon Favreau, and that the two of them are going to like Iron Man, Batman it up together and like decide to do like their own like highest budget movie of all time or something insane.
Weird choice. I don't see it happening. I wouldn't panic if it did happen, but I think it's a weird choice and unlikely.
No, but what I mean is more so from the perspective of I don't want too many cooks to be in the kitchen.
Right.
And I think Rian Johnson is brilliant. And I think I think people give him crap for like, oh, well, if you don't give him like these characters that we all know and love, then like people will be more okay with it. And I agree with that, sure. But I think more importantly, Rian Johnson was so skilled at blowing up the Force and blowing up the galaxy and making those things bigger and stronger and having really great themes. And these are all very important things within Star Wars. And if you can kind of set up a bit of an era even, it can kind of, if you can frame off a certain part of Star Wars you want him to work in, I think you can get a masterpiece from him. And I think that that's something that Disney maybe just isn't sure what playground they want him to work in yet. And he's probably being like, oh, I've got all these things in my mind, so I kind of don't care. But I've got like these things I want to do. And then it's a matter of I can do them just whatever lens you want me to take them with. And so
yes,
I'm okay with that.
I think that I agree with everything you said, except I think that Rian Johnson is maybe the most promising genre filmmaker in the business right now. And in the time since he made a Star Wars movie, he went and got himself nominated for an Academy Award, and he built a whole new franchise, which for all we know is built to last. And he also kind of has a doesn't give a shit approach to the Star Wars fan base, which actually in a way I think is healthy. Yeah, I think it's really good. Unfortunately, what I saw today, and I really have expected that, or more than half expected that he would not work in Star Wars again. I thought that this project was all but dead. But it's 3 projects. I guess it's a trilogy. Where was I going with that? What I saw today is that the hatred against Rian Johnson hasn't cooled quite as much as I would have expected as a result of Knives Out. There's still an awful lot of people who just know the name and know that The Last Jedi wasn't what they wanted it to be, and so that they will not ever accept that he can make a good Star Wars movie, whether it has the high stakes of the Skywalker saga or not. Now, I also don't think that we should make choices based on what people who've already made up their mind are likely to say. But it is a shame that some people come to be nuclear or toxic in a community where they have a lot to offer.
Yeah, and I think he has a ton to offer. And I think, and I said this before, and I think that the solution, the answer is give him an episode of Mandalorian. I think it's the answer. It's the most uniting thing in all of Star Wars. It's something that, in particular, seems to hold an extra level of strength with Last Jedi haters. So I mean, just in not even necessarily Last Jedi like toxic haters, but just in general. It seems to be a common thread, and not saying that people who like one will dislike the other, but just an often thing is it seems to be that people who dislike The Last Jedi do seem to like The Mandalorian. And Rian Johnson made his bread and butter doing direction on some of the best episodes of television in history. And so it just seems to be a slam dunk, makes too much sense. Why not give the man an opportunity to do that again and not tell anybody, have people go, oh my God, that was the best episode of The Mandalorian ever. Oh my God, Rian Johnson did that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a great
and then
it's a great
question
idea.
everything that they have.
It's a great idea because Mandalorian episodes are set up so that you really don't know who's directing it until the episode is over. They seem to do that on purpose. And it's a nice idea for the same reason it would be really cool if George Lucas were to get the opportunity to direct one, because you watch it without any inhibitions, without any kind of biases, and then you get to reevaluate in hindsight. And that's a great suggestion for Rian Johnson.
Yeah, I think it would make a lot of sense, and it shows that like he comes into projects later on. He knows how to work in somebody else's sandbox, and so I actually think that part is wrong. But I'm also somebody who loved what he did with Luke in The Last Jedi, so of course I'm going to think that.
Yeah. Anything else? Anything else we should touch on?
No, that's really everything in the news and across the board. Yeah.
Okay, just a couple of birthdays. Happy birthday on Friday, February 19th to Benicio del Toro, speaking of The Last Jedi. And on Sunday, February 21st to, one of the originals, Anthony Daniels, having a birthday in the coming weekend. We are definitely now on Spotify. So, if you tend to listen to all your podcasts on Spotify, I guess you're not hearing that from me right now. Maybe you check us out on YouTube now and then. We are in all the essential podcast platforms as well as YouTube. And so I think you even have an embedded option to send us a voice memo in the liner notes from each individual podcast we create. And so if you want to supply content, this does not have to remain a rhetorical medium. Like, we would love for you to send along your own thoughts in audio, or as I've always suggested, you can just email us recorder66podcast@gmail.com or tweet @recorder66. Next week on the podcast, I guess we're going to close off this. Hey, it's like a little mini trilogy. It's episode 2.14 of the Clone Wars. And so you can see that on Disney Plus, and we're going to see how this little arc featuring Obi-Wan and Satine. Are we going to get Satine back next week?
Yep.
See how that kind of closes off, at least for now, on next week's podcast. But in the meantime, let us know what you think, any questions you might have. And until we are together again,
may the Force be with you.